All right, good morning, trade pros. Welcome to Morning Market Update for Wednesday, April 24th of 2019. It's George Papazov, Trade Pro Academy. Excited to be here with you. We got a great morning update ahead of us. A lot of stuff to talk about, and I can't talk. Let's jump right into it. Morning Market fun fact for today. The CBOE, Chicago Board Options Exchange Volatility Index, also known as the VIX, which measures the fear in markets and future implied volatility, is down 10% this month. And it's on track to fall for the fourth consecutive month, the longest losing streak for volatility since 2014. All right, and of course, we're not seeing volatility because the market has gone vertical since Christmas Eve of 2018. All right, so volatility is flushing out, which pulls out the options value. It reduces the prices as we're seeing the SP 500 and other equity markets in the United States run away to new all-time highs. All right, and on that note, the S&P 500 index hits a new all-time closing high. What we mean by that is yesterday we closed at an all-time high that was surpassed from before. All right, the previous all-time high close was 2934.60, and that was on September 20th, 2018. That's on the index, not the futures. And yesterday, April 23rd, we closed at 2934.80. So 0.2 of a point higher on the index on yesterday's closing high. Now, it wasn't the highest point it's reached, all right, but we did surpass the highest close in the past. The day after the September 20th, or it was September 21st, we hit the all-time high on an intraday basis, and that was 2940, so a couple points above. Nasdaq, however, did hit fresh all-time highs yesterday numerous times. Right, Victoria on the webinar who covers Nasdaq literally said Nasdaq new all-time high like 10 times yesterday. All right, so Nasdaq went out to the upside, flushed a lot of the volatility and a lot of the buy stops that are hanging around there. A lot of hedge funds have been perpetually short equity markets, and they were the ones that were buyers above all-time highs. You know, you got to ask yourself, who's buying this thing at an all-time high? And short covering is creating buying opportunities, and late retail crowd that hasn't gone in yet that now recognizes new all-time high jumps in as well. All right, I do think we're going to hit new all-time highs today on the S&P. Not closing highs, but fresh all-time highs. And we call this nachos, new highs on the close. And I think we're going to see that. A couple weeks ago, we talked about seeing a new all-time high in the next few weeks, and we're here. Last week on Sunday, we said that we'd probably see the new all-time high this week. It's the middle of the week, and this would be a likely opportunity to see that happen. All right, the U.S. futures were down slightly overnight, but not much. We didn't give back many of the gains from yesterday, which suggests there isn't that much sell-side interest. We're going to probably push through and go to the upside early in the morning. All right, yesterday we had a tremendous trading room. One of our members absolutely destroyed it, did really good. Very proud of him. He knows who he is. And man, I was so proud of the guy. I swear to God, my eyes started to water a little bit because seeing that kind of progress, seeing where he came from, where he is right now, I just made me proud. And I'm proud of everyone in a room. Everyone in the room had a great opportunity. I think we're at 76% of the traders yesterday with live capital were green. And, you know, that touches my heart. I love to see that. This is what we work so hard for at Trade Pro Academy. All of us, Victorio, Azalea, Mark, myself, we're committed to you guys. All right. Pre-market reports this morning. There's a lot of earnings today. We had AT&T, Biogen, and Boeing. We're going to review all these reports. After the bell, we have huge, heavy-hitting names coming up. So the S&P 500 better hit all-time highs before any of these companies come out, because then we don't know anymore. If these companies miss big, we could see some downside and some sell pressure come in. Listen to what we have after the bell today. Facebook, Microsoft, and Tesla. All right, huge companies all reporting after the closing bell. This morning, we had Boeing report Q1 earnings per share of $3.16. It's above the estimate average of analysts at $3.11. Some analysts expected more from Boeing, up to $3.25 a share. And we know that with some of their recent trouble with the reliability of their 737 MAX 8 aircraft, all of them being grounded, the whole fleet internationally, we knew that there was going to be a little bit of trouble in Boeing in terms of their earnings. However, this earnings report is too soon. All right. The trouble is what impacted the stock price, because there's a lot of fears of liability, what could happen next. But we haven't really had a quarter yet to allow for the fact of cancellation of orders and a drop in sales. So we didn't really expect much from this report, to be honest with you. And so far, the early indication is that it's shrugging this whole incident off. It came in at 3.16 earnings per share. Revenue came in stronger, 22.9 billion versus 22.3. They do pause their buyback program for 2019. The company will not be buying their shares, which I think right there is the biggest opportunity for, not opportunity, but this is the biggest concern for investors, because if the company's not buying back their own shares, we're going to have to get that many more traders coming in to buy it just to offset the loss of demand that's going to present. All right, so they're pausing their buyback program. And they also said this: due to the uncertainty of the timing and conditions surrounding return to service of the 737 MAX fleet, new guidance will be issued at a future date. This was a really big aircraft for them, a modified aircraft to provide fuel efficiency. And so that was a big part of their forecast. They don't really know when they're going to be, how long they're going to be grounded, their whole fleet of 737s. They said we're going to give a future projection later on. So they pretty much suspended their guidance, which makes sense, honestly. They're working on a software that the FAA now has to approve. They said they're hoping to get approval by late June, or late May rather, at the latest. And I'll tell you one thing, all right? This software will have to be top-notch for it to get approved, because everybody's watching. I remember in Ontario, we had an incident in Walkerton, in a little town, Walkerton, where there was water contamination, right? And then when the whole thing blew up and everyone was watching, they replaced the whole piping system, and now it has the cleanest water in the world, probably, because it's all brand new. So if this software gets applied, we'll see what happens, and we'll have to listen to aviation analysts to give us the update on whether or not it's going to do to unground the fleet. So at this point, Boeing that's not a bad report at all, quarterly earnings, and we're seeing some upside on the stock as a result. All right. The CEO also said of Boeing to temporarily slow production of the 737 MAX by almost 20% to 42 per month from 52 per month starting mid-April, which makes sense. Nobody's going to be buying a grounded fleet, right? AT&T comes out with first quarter earnings per share 86 cents versus 85 expected. Revenue 44.8 billion versus 45.1. Strong report from AT&T. Postpaid phone churn is 1.17% versus 1.06, which means people who get a prepaid card canceling their plan. All right, DirecTV now, net ads, they lose subscribers to 83,000 versus 312,000 the prior year. I mean, people are cutting the cord. I don't have any cable TV. I haven't had it for almost 8 years now. I don't know about you guys, but comment below if you still have regular TV subscription. I'll tell you, for me, the biggest challenge is sports. All right, you can't watch sports as much online. They're streaming packages, but they're not the same. And I'll tell you why that doesn't impact me that much. So I'm a Maple Leafs fan, and I don't get to watch sports after April typically. This year is the same thing. I want to see the Maple Leafs. I got to be on the golf course. Caterpillar, first quarter earnings per share of $2.94 versus $2.84 expected. Strong beat there. Revenue 13.5 billion, slightly above expectation of 13.4. In today's markets, Asian markets are down. Japan down 0.5%. Hong Kong down the same. China is flat. India up 1.3%. In Europe, a midday, London's down 0.2%. Paris is pretty much flat. Frankfurt's up 0.7%. So strong gains in Germany. In the U.S., futures are flat across the board, more or less. There isn't any major fluctuations. We're in a tight range. Crude oil this morning has given back some of its gains from yesterday overnight, but we're hanging around right where the previous day closes, so it's also flat. Crude oil's got a report coming up today at 10:30. It's crude oil inventory day, where in 1 day and 1 hour you can make your whole weekly profit target most of the time. All right. I mean, to be honest with you, the last couple of weeks we had a little bit of a dud report that hasn't moved the market as much, and I think today we're set for a little bit more volatility. Gold is flat. Bitcoin down 1.5%. On the calendar, 10 a.m. State Street Consumer Investor Confidence Index, 10:30 natural or crude oil inventories, 11:30 results of a 20 billion 2-year note auction, and that's what's on the docket for the day. All right, state of the upside, equities look green, they look bullish. Buy the dips, find a high probability, low risk level, and give it a shot. I think we're going to clear these all-time highs in the SP 500 futures today. All right, Nasdaq's already there. Watch the early morning for a bit of a sell-off, and around reversal hour, it might take 30, 40 minutes, maybe even a little bit longer. I can see the bid stepping back in. That's one scenario. The second scenario is we open green and we just hold the bid all day long, all right, until we get the earnings reports into the close. You guys have a good day. Manage your risk. Trade like Trade Pros. 10:30 oil inventory. Join our trading room. We trade that live with our whole team. We'll see you there. Take care and have a great day. Trade Pros in the room. Let us get started. I'll start with the S&P 500, hand it over to Victorio, talk about Nasdaq, and then Steven, our insanely good trader, will talk about oil levels with you, and our oil desk manager. So let's get started. I'll give you a nice high probability level S&P 500, which I think will hold a support for a long opportunity. All right, let's jump into it.